Hey, how's it going, Brandon? We're back here with another video, and in this video, we are going to be going over your Pikachu Zekrom GX deck, playing against Pidgeotto Control. We saw in the last video that I made that Pidgeotto draws cards, and it draws cards so that your opponent to get their hands down to nothing by discarding cards and decking them out. So the goal of this game, even though that I think this matchup is not great for you, we'll see exactly how it goes. There's a few things that you can do as I've explained in the last video. So let's see exactly what we could do against the deck. So I'll shoot over a challenge over to our pals at Rare Candy. Those are the same top players that have been playing with us in these games. So shout out to them and let's see exactly what we could do here. So we're just waiting on Rare Candy to shoot over a challenge. And yeah, so they're going to try to discard all of our energy in play with Crushing Hammers and discard all the cards from our hand. We'll see if we can catch them on a slower start. I feel like that's basically the best thing that you can do. And we got actually a pretty okay start here. They're going first, so let's put down our Pikachu Zekrom. And while I think that there might be more correct ways to beat this matchup, the faster that you go, the more knockouts that you just take, the better position that you're in. You can catch them slipping. And it looks like they already have a pretty good setup there. Maybe they already have a Pidgey in their hands? Or a Ditto? Ah, there's some Pidgeys. Pidgey, Ditto. Looks like a pretty good start for them. And there's a Rangaroo. That's the card that's going to allow them to loop back all their cards that they want. We'll see what our opponent wants to do here. Okay, not a bad start for them by any means. There's an electromagnetic radar. Discard a couple lightnings. Probably just want to get free retreat with Zerora. I think that probably makes the most sense. Let's just grab out one of these, considering we're going to discard our hand with Dedenne. Okay, so let's see what we can get off this. There's a Tapu Koko. Get those energies right there. And we're going to see what we can get off Jirachi first. It might be better to try to, you might think it might be better to use Volkner first, but we have more chances of getting what we want off Jirachi. So we're actually in a pretty good spot to be getting a turn 1 knockout here. Let's go Volkner. If we get 1 heads on Stadium Nav, we will be getting a turn 1 knockout here. And we actually got 2 heads. Awesome. So we'll grab 2 stadiums. Putting out Thunder Mountain. Putting a skateboard there. This is one of the very few games where we were able to get off a turn 1 knockout. So here we just want to go full blitz. Just going to try to grab a couple energies. This deck does play Articuno, and that is a card that our opponent can use to discard all of our energies very early on. So we'll see exactly how that works out for us. There's some of the Pidgeottos. They're just going to go in with a resource management. So I think our opponent forgot to use Pidgeotto a couple times, but that's okay. This deck can be quite daunting to play. It's quite a difficult deck to play. And this is exactly the type of situation we need to be in where your opponent makes a mistake. So let's see exactly if we can capitalize on this. So they're going to get back some of their cards, and we're probably just going to try to knock out their Rankaroo and a bird. Going ahead with Tagbolt GX since we have the Thunder Mountain in play, and let's knock out one of their Pidgeottos. I'm sure our opponent on the other side misclicked that. So we're down to 3 prize cards on our second turn of the game. And we just need to continuously get past crushing hammers and stuff like that. Now, I might have tried to hit onto this Aurora with the crushing hammer to try to swoop in with an Articuno, just to wipe out all energies this turn. But I don't know if getting an Articuno out is possible for our opponent. Looks like they're struggling there a little bit. So let's go ahead, get some free retreat on this Pokemon, since we don't need to worry about full blitz so much anymore. Let's go tag switch. Let's move an energy there. And let's go for a Plasma Fist. Now our opponent's quickly running out of resources, and we are quickly drawing prize cards. This is one of the better ways to win in the matchup, but our opponent could always go Reset Stamp, Articuno. Looks like they just got nothing there, so we were able to steal this game from our opponent, drawing 5 prize cards very quickly. Let's try the game again with our opponent going first and see if they can get a little bit of a better setup there. Okay, and we'll let our opponent go first gladly. We did start with a Jirachi, not bad. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to get a turn 1 attack off like we did other games. Okay, looks like they got another pretty good setup there. And we did get a Thunder Mountain out, so you want to know what? Let's try to go for it. We might be able to make this happen. So let's go for an Electromagnetic Radar. and a lightning energy. Big issue is we have our Tapu Koko Prism prized. But maybe we'll be able to draw it out of our prize card later on in the game, so we still want to prepare for that as best as we possibly can. Let's go for PikaRom and a Dedenne. Attach an energy there. Let's get ready with that. Might as well go reset stamp on our opponent since they have 6 cards in their hands. So we can try to draw a card off Custom Catcher. Let's see what Dedenne GX brings us. We still have options for Stellar Wish. Got the Cynthia there already. Let's just go for a Electro Power. And we'll go ahead and pass our turn. And there's one bird for our opponent. I'm sure they're going to try to use Airmail again this turn instead of misclicking. There's a Ditto. Good stuff there. Another Airmail. And matchups like this can become incredibly long. Sure, with our opponent getting a great setup here, this game could be quite long for us. And just like that, our Thunder Mountain's gone. Still got our energy on our PikaRom. We just got to keep on loading those up there. Looks like our opponent's going to play a Pokegear. And it's all our go. Cool. So there's another energy. Let's bump our opponents right there. See what Stellar Wish brings us. Don't really care about Electro Power in this matchup. There's nothing really there that we're worried that much about. Let's just get a Cynthia going. Nothing really at all. We're just going to pass here and hopefully we can get around this game quicker than our opponent can get crushing hammers out. Okay, there's an Acrobike. And there's nothing else that we could do here except see exactly what our opponent does. We haven't been able to attack so far with our prizing. So we just gotta sit out here and chill around. We did take a quick win on our opponent in the other game. That's one thing you can do in best of 3. Just try to get those quick wins. Crushing Hammer Tails is really good for us. There's a Mars. They're going to randomly discard a card. There goes the only supporter we had in our hands. And cool. There's a resource management. Okay. I'm just probably going to get back some crushing hammers and another stadium to get around there. So we're actually just going to try to go for a PikaRom, putting away another resource into a Dedenne GX. And we're discarding our own energy here, unfortunately. It's really real rough for us, but we need to get a switch. We did not get a switch. But we do have an option here. It comes at the expense of discarding a card. Let's grab out Azura. Let's go Azura here. And if we go energy switch from here to here, we could actually free retreat because of our Azura. We did get another energy switch. So let's go from here to here. And we still have the option of Cynthia, so let's see if that's going to work out for us. Let's put down this Raichu and Raichu because we could always tag switch off of it. And 1, 2, 3. Thing that's really rough is we are not going to have access to our Tapu Koko anymore because our bench is full. Our opponent doesn't actually knock at our Pokemon here. Grabbing a lightning energy out of our prize cards was absolutely amazing. Okay. We're just waiting to see exactly what our opponent can do here. Maybe our opponent won't be able to find an energy here. That'd be great for us. You can see they've built up a lot of cards in their hand. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And now they're going to go in with a Lieutenant Surge. And they're going to reset stamp our hand to even lower. We got to choose the 2 cards that we're going to discard. I'm fine with Electromagnetic Radar and an E-Power. We don't necessarily need those cards. Custom catchers are much better for us. And now they're going to look at the top card of our deck, place it on top, getting us in a full lock. We'll see what else our opponent gets. Okay, so they do have the resource management available. There's Articuno. They're probably just going to use their GX attack against us. Now I kind of wish we had that Electro Power still. There's a Tantaliza, so their deck is all fully set up and they can use these things every single turn. They're going to use Cold Crush GX. Now we can't even attack with our Raichu, Alolan Raichu, so we're losing so many energies in play. No way to get them back except maybe Zorora. But they can only use that GX attack once, so let's see exactly Let's switch into Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Let's see if Custom Catcher will draw us a card. We did get an Electro Power. Let's see if Custom Catcher will draw us another card. We were able to get a Volkner there. So there's a Lightning Energy. There's no point of us grabbing another card that we want because our opponent will likely just discard it next turn. And we're able to use Tandem Shock. I do want to keep Full Voltage GX on the board if necessary. So there's a card that we won't be able to play for the rest of the game. And there is a Lightning Energy. So hopefully our opponent is not able to get rid of that Lightning Energy, whether it's with a Reset Stamp or via Jesse James or a Mars. So we got to see exactly what they can do. Our opponent's going to try to get rid of all of our remaining energies. But I really want to get out Zeraora GX to try to load up some energies. Because we only need to draw 3 more prize cards. So if we can get to that, I think we're in a pretty great spot. And it just comes down to waiting and seeing exactly what our opponent does. We can't really make a plan. It's just one of those things. There's a power plant stopping us from retreating with Zeraora's free retreat. They keep on getting tails on Crushing Hammer. That's one of the issues that this deck can have, is that they're coin flip reliant. They could rip that Lightning out of our hand. Nope, they ripped a Dedenne, so that's good for us. And they're going to look at the top card of our deck with Chip Ice Axe. There's a Custom Catcher. They're just drawing an extra card. There's another Custom Catcher. So you can see with all the actions that our opponent has, there's another Crushing Hammer. Wow, another Tails. Our opponent's getting incredibly unlucky this game. But we'll see exactly what our options are. Palpad Crushing, Chip. Let's see what our opponent gave us. They gave us a Lightning Energy, so we can't... Or they didn't give us a Lightning Energy, sorry. They gave us a Raichu and a Alolan Raichu. We just had a Lightning Energy in our hands. We have options here. And our options include using Lightning Ride GX, which would take away our opportunity to use Full Voltage GX. And it seems like these are the last energies. This is the last energy we have, period. If we use Lightning Ride GX, we can't use it. If we retreat, we bring it down to only having 6 energies left total. I think we actually just have to retreat. We're going to give ourselves some extra energy there. And we'll see exactly what our opponent does. If they get any luckier on their Crushing Hammers, I think this game is just over. Even though we were able to draw 3 prize cards relatively easily. Okay. Trying to see what our opponent's going to do. It doesn't really matter what we decide to discard here. We can't play any of those cards down. And I'm assuming our opponent's just going to chip ice access. It's a pretty good shot of it, at least. Probably all the cards on top of our deck probably suck. And as much as it's all good. It's not that our cards suck in our deck by any means. It's just that they're going to keep on making sure that we draw cards that we don't want at that time and just keep on cycling through and through. Just waiting here to see what our opponent does. And looks like we're in a pretty stuck position. Okay, there's a resource management. Now we have an escape board. You can play it down. But all we could do is pass. We can't play Zorora. And this is where the matchup becomes a game loss for us. We cannot come up with anything. I'm not really a huge fan of giving up, so for the sake of these videos, we will let our opponent finish out their strategy. And they're just going to keep on doing the same thing over and over again. Now, maybe our opponent will make a mistake, and that's the best way for us to win. Okay, let's see what we're going to top deck here. Just got to wait for our opponent to choose the correct things. Now, the correct things for them to choose in this case would probably just, they could use a reset stamp to try to deck us out at some points. Now, they gave us a Zapdos. That's a card we can't use. So it's more of we sit here and we watch our opponent play as they go through whatever they want. With our opponent having 4 Pidgeottos, they'll be able to see all the 6 cards in their deck, grabbing whatever they want, and getting basically everything they want every single turn off resource management. They're just going to keep on using airmail. And they've used all 4 of it, so let's see exactly what they want to do here. Okay, Mars, so we have 0 cards in our hand. They have every card in their deck. We're just going to pal pad some other cards back in. Lieutenant Surge and Jesse and James. Opponent's just going to use resource management again. And you can see we're down to 8 cards left in our deck. They gave us a Drachi, again, a card that we can't use. So there's no other way to get out of this lock. Basically, once you get in this lock, you are going to be locked. Now, looking through our discard pile, I believe there is no combination of cards that off Chip Ice Axe that we would have 3 great cards on top of our deck that would leave our opponent in a position to give us one of them. That's one of the only few ways that we can get out of this lock. Now, if that were to ever happen, our opponent could go double Chip Ice Axe. And they're just going to keep on going through crushing, hammering one by one. But the biggest issue is once we get to 3 cards left in our deck and 0 cards in hand, our opponent is going to use a reset stamp to win the game. And we will lose by deck out. They will do 0 damage. They will draw 0 prize cards. The only 2 attacks that they'll ever use in this matchup are going to be Resource Management, and they're going to use Articuno's Cold Crush GX. So you can see there's Crushing Hammer. Now, Crushing Hammer is one of those cards, it doesn't necessarily matter. Our opponent could try to mill out of our deck a little bit quicker by using Reset Stamp, Jesse and James, and Mars every single turn to make this lock go a little bit quicker. But it's one of those things that doesn't necessarily matter. So if our opponent went Lieutenant Surge, Reset Stamp, Jesse James, and then Mars, we'd be in a world of pain. But there's not much that we can do. They've already controlled everything else. And the best way for them to do that is to go Resource Management, Pal Pad, Chip Ice Axe, or Pal Pad, Resource Management, or Resource Management at Chip Ice Axe, Reset Stamp, Pal Pad. So it all depends on what the resources they have available. They can use that technique every 2 turns. So I guess we'll see what we're going to top deck next. I'm going to assume that it's going to be a non-usable card. Even at this point of the game, if we were to get something cool like a Cynthia or a Volkner, it wouldn't necessarily help us out. Chip Ice Axe, Pal Pad, Lieutenant Surge. So it looks like our opponent's second Pal Pad is likely prize. We have an Electro Power, there's no point of us playing it, we're not doing any attack this turn. And our opponent almost fully has us locked out of the game. And when I say almost, our opponent does have us locked out. We just have to hope that they make some kind of mistake. Now, another way that you could win against a deck like this is by using Reset Stamp late in the game to deck your opponent out. Sometimes they'll give you a Reset Stamp without thinking about it. And you can see with the limited cards that our opponent has left in their deck, it's very possible that they could run out of cards if they're not too careful, or if they were to forget something like Resource Management by accidentally saying pass. That being said, our opponents had us in a secured lock for the past 5-6 turns, and there's not too much else that we could do about it. So there's a Pal Pad. I fully assume our opponent's going to get whatever they need back to discard this Electro Power from our hands. So there's a Lieutenant Surge. There's a Mars. And we're down to 6 cards left in our deck. Chip Ice Axe, I'm assuming, again, we don't really have much left in this deck. Rip our deck. And if I were our opponent, I'd probably just go right in with a Resource Management. They probably don't even need to use Lieutenant Surge here. And if our opponent really wanted, they could win this game in 2 turns at this stake if they're able to go Reset Stamp. I don't think Crushing Hammer matters with the cards that we have available left in our deck. But we'll find out exactly what we have here. We have a Lysander Labs. Let's pop this Power Plant just in case we could somehow get an energy switch or a tag switch or anything like that. Trying to drop our opponent out of this lock. And with us being down to 5 cards left in our deck, our opponent, if they decide to play a Reset Stamp, I know that they could rip 3 cards out of our hand with Jesse and James and Mars. But we'll see exactly how it goes. Mars doesn't necessarily matter for us at this point because we have 0 cards in our hand anyways. So we'll see exactly how it goes. Okay, there's another energy gone from us. Chip Ice Axe. Let's see what our opponent's going to give us. Probably not a card that's necessary. And we're just going through the same thing over and over again. Let's see what our opponent decided to give us. Got an Electro Power. No point of playing that card. So, considering our opponent's taking the slow and steady race, which they can totally do, maybe they're trying to use it to take up more time in the game. We're just going to sit here. It's one of those things of, I guess we'll see if we're able to get out of the lock. Our opponent should be able to win in 2 turns at this current rate. And their last turn, they're going to Reset Stamp us to give us the 3 remaining cards in our deck. And I understand how frustrating it can be to play against this deck. If you're playing in tournament, I would have recommended scooping about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. Because you can see we're not attacking. Our opponent continuously chooses the card we want on top of our deck. The best way that we could do it is based off time alone between the game 1 and this game. It's been about 40 minutes. If we were playing in real life, it would have been a little bit more. Maybe it would have been possible to bring this game to a tie. So if you win a game against this deck, you can likely bring it to a tie, play in an appropriate pace, but this deck, their strategy takes so long that time would have been called any moment now. So we're going to top deck the card for our deck, and our opponent should be able to win next turn no matter what. So they should be grabbing a Reset Stamp, a Pal Pad, and I think that's basically it. So it looked like they forgot to grab Reset Stamp for some reason. We do have a Cynthia here. Just so we could try to get an attack off. We have a Switch. And Switch is going to do nothing. And I know we were going to lose this game. If you see all the cards that we had left, we had no way to move energies, no way to do anything. So we're going to pass. And if our opponent just passes their turn, we lose the game because we have 0 cards left in our deck. So you can see we couldn't draw a card for our deck and we lost that game. We could even look into the stats a little bit just to see our opponent. It looked like they got a low amount. They got 2 heads flipped, only 1 tails flipped. Oh no, that's for us. So they went 4 heads flipped, 8 tails flipped. So in any other normal game, they should get about 6 heads and 6 tails. That's what the odds of a coin flip are. But you can see they took a lot of time to make their strategy work, but once it got working, we lost that game. So let's try out one last game as if it was a best 2 out of 3 to see if we have a chance, and we will go first. This is actually going to be our first time going first against this deck. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so they're calling the coin flip, and they're going to let us go first no matter what. Okay, so we actually did not prize our Tapu Koko this game. We have it right here. And we're just going to chill on this hand right now. Okay, there's a Volkner. So let's go grab a Lightning. Let's grab an Escape board. We already have the Electromagnetic Radar there. So let's get PikaRom, Dedenne. So this game's already looking pretty good for us. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. There's no point of us trying to chill on anything else. We're not going to grab anything there because those can all be very important later on. Let's use Custom Catcher to draw a card. Let's play an Electro Power. Let's use Custom Catcher to draw another couple cards. And I'm sure our opponent's very happy with our decision here. No point of us not playing Reset Stamp at this point. Maybe our opponent's hand was amazing. And it doesn't matter. Let's just go to Dedenne here to try to draw into a Lightning Energy if possible. Awesome. So there's an Electromagnetic Radar. Let's discard these. Let's get a Zorora. And let's get out a Pikachu Zekrom. So there's our Zorora. There's our Pikachu Zekrom. Let's attach a Lightning Energy. Let's power up both of our PikaRoms. So we're fully ready to go for next turn. And let's Stellar Wish and hopefully get a supporter here. We don't need that Thunder Mountain Prism Star. Hopefully we could use that later on in the game as an extra energy. And let's just pass here so we're ready to attack next turn. Pretty great setup on our behalf. Let's see exactly what our opponent's setup brings them. So there's a power plant that's going to stop Dedenne's and Zorora GX from working. They did get a Pidgeotto. And let's see what Acro Break brings them. So looks like our opponent's getting a pretty solid setup here. With Professor Elms, we might have reset stamped them into a very good hands. Pidgey. Let's see what Stellar Wish brings them. Maybe we'll bring them a nice supporter for next turn. They don't already have one. There's a Crushing Hammer, so maybe that Thunder Mountain would have really mattered if they are able to get a heads here. So their tail streak continues with them just getting super unlucky, but that's okay. We are ready to capitalize on it. There's a PikaRom, and let's go for a Cynthia here. We want to have a pretty full hand in case they try to go with any kind of crazy plays. And there's no point of us grabbing anything else. We're just going to try to grab useless card out of our deck so that when they try to attack us or attack our hand with Mars or Jesse and James that we have cards that we want to discard. We will get rid of their power plant though, just to give ourselves other chances in case they were to reset stamp us. Let's go full blitz, take care of that Jirachi, and power up our other PikaRom. We only want to try to get minimal energies in here. We saw last game we ran out of energies really quickly. And we did get a Dedenne there, so that's good that we did play a Lysander Labs down if we need to play Dedenne. Now, this is the type of game where I think we legitimately have a shot at winning. Looks like we got pretty quick knockout. So our goal is to try to get more knockouts while our opponent struggles to set up. They're just going to do airmail. Nothing new going on here. And these games can take a while. So depending on how it goes, we can win anywhere between the next 4 and 5 turns. Depending if we're able to get off a Tag Bolt GX, and our opponent can take 30 turns to win the game. See if they can get heads on Crushing Hammer. Thankfully, our opponent for them was able to get it. But it's not going to necessarily hurt us that much. Maybe they'll try to go for an Articuno GX this turn. And that's why they discarded off the bench PikaRom. So there's Articuno. There's a Water Energy. And there goes a lot of our energies in play. So we're going to go Volkner here. We're going to get an Electro Power and a Lightning Energy. Luckily for us, we do have a switch in our hand, and we are able to get a knockout on our opponent's active Pokemon. Don't be greedy and switch into a Jirachi. Realize we do have a Lysander Labs in play. There's an Electro Power. And we are going to get the knockout here with Full Blitz. And we're going to power up this Pokemon to try to take another 2 prize cards. So with our opponent using Articuno there, we are going to be down to 3 prize cards. We might be able to steal this game from our opponent very quickly. However, they might go Reset Stamp, Custom Catcher, one of our Pokemon on our bench. It all depends on what they have, and they're forced to send up a Pidgeotto regardless. You can see that they can only play 2 Crushing Hammers at most this turn, since they already have 2 in their discard pile. So we'll see how that plays out for them. And the thing is, the more Pidgeottos you knock out, the less chance they have to get something powered up, because they can't use airmail. But we'll see what their turn brings. They did get a Lieutenant Surge strategy there, so we might be in for a world of pain. So there's a Jesse and James. We're completely fine discarding some cards. We do not need another Zorora. We do not need another Jirachi. It would have been really nice if our opponent had a Reset Stamp there. There's a Custom Catcher. I don't know if they're grabbing 1 or 2 there. There's 2 Custom Catchers. So they're probably going to be bringing up our other PikaRom there. That's one of the things we got to watch out for. We've already played 1 copy of Switch. So we need to find another energy in general. So let's go Thunder Mountain. Just dropping that, giving ourselves more options. Let's put this on our Dedenne. Let's go Electromagnetic Radar to discard some more cards out of our hands. We're going to get that because we're going to be playing a Dedenne this turn, and we're trying to get a Lightning Energy or a Switch. So let's go Electro Power since it doesn't necessarily matter, and let's go Dedenne here. Okay, cool. So we did get a Lightning Energy. Awesome for us. Let's just retreat into this Pikachu Zekrom, and I think we're probably going to be able to win the game the next turn. Our opponent got a very poor setup this game, and this is not usually how the matchup goes, but we are down to one prize card, and I think we're in a pretty great position to win. However, our opponent might just use custom catchers to bring up one of our other Pokemon. They still have 2 custom catchers left. We don't know exactly what they could do during their turn, because they could always reset stamp us to 1 and custom catcher up, let's say our bench Zerora, and that would just be game altering. So there's a Mars. They're going to draw some more cards, and we'll see exactly what our opponent gets. There's a reset stamp. I think they're doing everything they can to try to win. Crushing Hammer. Getting heads at least. I think our opponent probably... Oh, there's a Ditto. Okay, so they're wasting cards to try to get cards with custom catchers. So they were 1 custom catcher away. They actually have 0 way to get out of this Pikachu Zekrom unless they are somehow able to get a Raichu and Raichu out there. So we'll just take our win here. We did have a custom catcher and a Cynthia, which left us with a lot of options. So this game didn't go the way of our opponents, but it does show that it is possible for us to outspeed this deck. And that was a really good matchup to showcase that. So I know this matchup can be confusing. It's based off of Grant Manley's 2nd place Atlantic City deck. He also made top 8 at the most recent Knoxville Regional Championships in Masters. And as we saw game 2, it can be absolutely miserable. You could be so upset playing against the deck because they can get you into a full lock. The good thing that Pikachu Zekrom GX has going against this deck is that it can be very quick. We saw in one of the games, we got off a turn 1 attack. We saw in the other game, just the game that we just played, we got off a turn 2 attack, and then we got off a knockout on an Articuno, and then we got off a tag bolt. So we do have the options to make some super strong plays in this matchup, and that's really where it's going to come down to. There's not really a point of us playing another game here, just because we saw how the matchup should work on both sides. Game 1, our opponent made a mistake. That's fine. If you're playing against this deck in tournament, your opponent can make mistakes. That's very possible. There's a lot of decision making to make with this deck. Game 2, we saw how our opponent could get us out into a complete lock, even though we have no control over it. That's just what their deck does. In game 3, we saw that we are able to chase through prize cards in this deck, just start taking prize cards as quickly as possible, making sure we keep our options safe in our hands. So as much as the Pidgeotto deck requires our opponent to think a lot about their plays, it does require us to think a lot about our plays and how you can think differently in different matchups to have strong results. I think that's kind of the theme of these videos, where it's just like, you could play PikaRom the same way every single game and you could do okay at events, or you could play Pikachu Zekrom differently every single matchup and have many different answers, some that you might have not even thought of before, and trying out those in different matchups. So this is where we're at. If you have any questions at all, or if you played against a Pidgey, or if you haven't played against a Pidgey, feel free to ask me anything during our next session. I'm sure Ryan would be a great resource for you to ask some questions to, Brandon. So if you have any questions, be sure to ask myself or Ryan. Maybe you were interested in the Pidgeotto deck. I'm not sure why you would be. It's kind of a really boring deck to play, but if you see the lock that we got our opponent in game 2, how they locked us out of all of our resources, everything we could, the deck can be incredibly fun to play if you are able to get out those locks more often than not. So if you want to try out the Pidgeotto, feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to walk you through how to play that deck. And that being said, that's it for this one. So if we just stay tuned for the next video, we're going to go over another deck profile and then another versus matchup using your exact PikaRom list. Even though the cards look a little different, it's the exact same deck. So appreciate you watching it this far. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next video. All right, take it easy, Brandon. Bye.